Hello and howdy ho everyone, Foxy Games here, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV Full Story Playthrough. In the last episode, we delved into the ancient city of Rabanastre and found out that the city of Ivalice does in fact exist. And there are still people down there, of a fashion. There's a beast tribe, and there are also people who have been messing with some powers that they really shouldn't be. And, well, we're gonna keep delving into this mystery, so let's talk to Lena. Foxy, where in the world have you been? Did you not receive Alma's summons? Principal Lexentale's research into the auracite may have finally borne fruit. We must hurry to the Prima Vista before they embark on some grand and perilous adventure without us. Well, we couldn't have that. In her message, Alma mentioned a guest from Charlian, someone your companion Sid Garland believed might be able to assist the principal's research. An archetype, I think is the term she used. That doesn't seem right. If you would follow me to the shuttle, good lady. Of course. Foxy, Lady Murilla. Thank you for answering my summons. Master Garland was kind enough to send for an Archon from Charlian, and I thought it only right that you be present to hear her findings. To be frank, summoning Mikoto was more Y'shtola's idea. I simply came along to see what light she could shed on this mystery. I am Mikoto of House Jinba, a doman, though my years in Charlian have made me a stranger here. You must be Foxy Games, fabled liberator of men, slayer of false gods, warrior of light. I thought you'd be taller. Let us speak of the crystal. The Odious is but one of but many auracite shards that aided noble Delita's rise to regent. My apologies, the Odious is no ordinary crystal, even discounting its obvious historical importance. The specimen is more than a simple manifestation of elementally aspected energies. It is rather an ethereal lodestone whose facilitation of both the absorption and transmission of distinct frequency NRR-type harmonic vibrations has been observed to promote ethereal amplification. The resultant neuroharmonic disturbance allows for a highly unique emittance of CPRS waves that, instead of radiating outward with a determinate factor of dispersal, instead resonate inward at a frequency so labored my estimates place the rate of VRT decay at upwards of several centuries, though I must admit I lack sufficient variance to complete a truly comprehensive graphical assessment. While that explanation may elicit admiring nods from your professors at the Academy, it will earn you only blank looks here. Take a deep breath and try again, this time in a language those of us without the echo might comprehend. Oh, poor Mikoto. My apologies, I merely thought... Apologies will see us no nearer to an answer. A simpler explanation will. Simpler, right. Aether is not the only building block of all things material, but those immaterial as well. Thoughts, memories, feelings, one's very will are all understood to be ethereal phenomena, and can be measured as such. Unlike most crystals, which can only emit elemental energies, auracite is tuned not only to absorb ether, but ether specific to the immaterial. That ether is then stored and multiplied within its crystalline confines until external stimuli precipitate release. that makes a little more sense. Try again. Ahem. Under appropriate conditions, a strong will or desire can become imprinted upon the auracite and stored until fermentation, at which time the desire becomes manifest. Fermentation? What my studious young friend is trying to say is that the odious takes one's deepest fantasies and makes them reality. Ah, yes. Yes, that is simpler. You may choose to think of it as a process akin to that of summoning a primal. There being one marked difference, primal summoning requires a supplemental energy source, such as a horde of elementally charged crystals. Auracite, on the other hand, has the capacity to serve as its own source of power. We know from the Durai papers that Argath was never king of Ivalice. He was slain in battle during the War of the Lions. Yet the Argath encountered during the recent expedition carried himself as if he had been crowned regent. I believe this was merely the auracite in his possession realizing his desire to rule. I am informed that he uttered the same words over and over again for the duration of the confrontation which unfolded. If that is the case, it is possible that it was not actually Argath who uttered them, but the auracite itself. If the Durai papers are accurate, Argath was a weak and petty noble who believed that his blood entitled him to power. The auracite took that belief and twisted it into the abomination we, Foxy, put to the sword. Then you're saying the crystal could prove a threat? The auracite, Alma, and not necessarily. Ramses seemed to fare well enough. There's no record of the young regent being manipulated by the artifacts he gathered. In the hands of the just, the auracite should prove harmless, even beneficial. To paraphrase, it is not the weapon that kills, but one who wields it. Now, where have I heard that before? Oh yes, it was Emperor Galvus's justification for taking the marvels of Magitech and applying them to the manufacture of arms. Where, after all, was the harm if it allowed him to bring order to the 3 great continents? You draw an intriguing parallel, Master Garland. The properties of these crystals are so singular, I do begin to wonder if they, like Magitech, are products of science and not nature. If they were created by someone to... But who? What manner of person would even be capable of such a feat? Now that is an interesting question, the answer to which I look forward to hearing. Regrettably, I have pressing matters to attend to elsewhere. Fear not, however, Mikoto's insight will prove far more beneficial than anything I might accidentally contribute. Good day to you all. What I don't understand is... if the Duma was imprinted with Argath's deepest desire, then whose desires are rattling about inside the odious? I had the selfsame question, and thus conducted a thorough inspection of the crystal upon my arrival. The results were inconclusive. Traces of ethereal activity were present, but to all intents and purposes the vessel was empty. Empty? But what of the voices I heard? Voices? I heard nothing of the sort. The only voices you heard, Alma, were in your stubborn head. Ramza, why won't you... Shall we speak of voices, then? What of yours, Alma, our resident voice of dissent? You have done naught but question the wisdom of our research from the moment we left Garlemald. Would you put your petty worries above our family's calling? No, I would never... You would never? Then why involve a gossip-monger, a goody-two-shoes, and this flying mole? Please tell me you can see that. Where did you come from? Well, I'm quite sure we didn't have a Moogle in our company before. A Moogle? And a decidedly dusty one at that. Might this be one of your acquaintances, Foxy? I don't think I know this Moogle, but then again, they all look the same. Ah, a Moogle. Yes. Most intriguing. Is it alive? Do you not have Moogles in Garlemald? It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Can we keep it? Don't just stand there. Get rid of the thing. You're the liberator. Liberate this vessel of that pest. Oh, you're such a douchebag. Am I interrupting? Oh, please do go on. My acceptance into your fine troop's ranks can wait until all have said their piece, Kupo. Guards, get this... Mont Blanc. The name is Mont Blanc. Denizen of Dalmasca's deserts, seeker of thrills, adventurer extraordinaire. But you may call me Mont Blanc, Kupo. Dalmasca has long been known as a melting pot for myriad cultures, where minor races such as the Sikh, the Banga, and the Viera might live in relative harmony with higher Elizin and others. Yet there is no record of a prominent Moogle population. Most likely because we are neither prominent nor populous. My people are nomadic by nature, ever drawn to the elusive frontier and the freedom she promises, Kupo. A Moogle? Of course I'm a Moogle, Kupo. You'd think the adorable wings and the fluffy palm would have given it away. Now about my admission into the Majestic. I will allow no such thing. The Majestic is the Empire's premier theater company. We will not sully its good name by granting refuge to a fluttering ball of fur. And furthermore, how in the world did this abomination board the Prima Vista in the first place? By means of his wings, were I to guess. As for his admission into our company, I do not seem to recall race, creed, or allegiance on my list of prerequisites. Do you? No, Father. Very well, then. Mont Blanc, what is it exactly that calls you to the stage, our stage? What else? The Zodiac Brave story, Kupo. Never before have I witnessed something so amazing, so moving. Sitting, well, technically hovering there in the audience as the story unfolded around me, I knew I was witnessing something special, something positively transcendental, Kupo. It was then that I realized I either had to be a part of it, or go to my grave a bitter and broken Moogle. Was this realization before or after you swore you simply had to become the realm's greatest marauder, Kupo? Hurdy, how did you... Perhaps you'd have more success at running away if you didn't reveal your grand designs to every other fool you happen to meet, Kupo. Was it not but 20 nights ago you took up the axe, Kupo? Now here you are professing your passion for the stage before carving even a single notch in your haft. Do you not remember? To he who churns the butter goes the sweetest bread. But how is one to savor buttered bread if his head is in the belly of a fearsome beast? You accuse me of giving up when I merely came to the realization that continuing would end in failure. Only through a change of course could I reach my final destination, Kupo. And that destination is what? Mummer? Are you sure it is not geomancer, arithmetician, Templar? Do not bother answering, Kupo. We all know you'll be singing a different tune come cockcrow. That is where you are mistaken, Hurdy. I was destined to be a thespian. I can feel it in my fur. The role of Delida was made for me, Kupo. Kupo, enough! The actors in our company trained at the Empire's finest institutes. They represent the pinnacle of the profession, not only in Garlemald, but across the entire world. A vagrant bat-mole like you could never hope to share a stage with such artists, let alone play the part of a hero like Delida. You yourself admitted you were too craven to face a solitary beast. How do you imagine you would fare against a pack of theater critics? Any troupe would need proof of valor before it could even consider. Craven! Call me a cheat and call me cur, but do not, sir, call me Craven. I accept your challenge. Slay but one foul beast by mine own hand, and the Majestic Theater Company will accept me into its ranks, Kupo. Wait, I issued no such... You are all here witnesses, Kupo. When I return with the head of a terrible beast in my gore-stained hands, you will be honor-bound to welcome me, Mont Blanc the Mummer, into the fabled ranks of the Majestic. Good day. Wonderful. What do we do now? What do we do? We do nothing. If that Batmole wishes to throw himself on the horns of a stampeding Zoe, I will not stand in his way. I believe the proper term of derogation is molebat, and I should warn you, Moogles do not take kindly to those who use it. Why must you always put yourself above others, brother? Did you learn nothing from Argoth's wretched example? Mont Blanc would never have set off on this fool's errand had you not made the challenge. If anything befalls my brother, his blood will be on your hands! Foxy, you're the only one among us capable of locating Mont Blanc and preventing disaster. On behalf of my brother, I beg your assistance. Really? We're chasing Moogles now? I thought we were looking for, you know, a legend. I apologize. I must learn to control my anger, but sometimes it can be difficult. You are kind of a prissy pants. You saw the poor Moogle. He won't last a day on his own. You must find him and bring him back, I beg of you. Moogles are prominent players in Ivalician legend, but none of the tales mention their capacity for flight. Something lost in translation, perhaps. However did Ramza come to be so thoroughly obnoxious? He and his sister couldn't be more different. Shortly after arriving here, I was presented with a study which suggested that consuming large quantities of honey improved brain function. The results were so compelling that I almost felt moved to try. Until, that is, I saw the work had been commissioned by one of Eorzea's foremost confectioners. It made me long to return to Sharlayan. Forgive me, was there aught else you wish to ask? Oh my god. Tell me about the auracite. In simplest terms, I know. From what I have been able to discern, auracite displays the uncanny ability to draw upon the will of its possessor and manipulate the formless ether into a corporeal manifestation. The resultant form can be maintained for as long as there's ether to sustain it. Principal Genomus has recently uncovered evidence which appears to corroborate my suspicion that auracite is not a naturally occurring substance, but one created to serve a purpose, albeit a purpose I have yet to identify. How about the Odious? Despite being in the Principal's possession for an extended period, the Odious exhibits none of the ethereal imprinting present in the Duma. In other words, the auracite has yet to absorb any of Lord Genomus's ether. It is, for want of better description, empty. Be that as it may, we still have no idea how it might be filled, its creators having neglected to include a removable stopper. Ahem. As you saw in the ruins of Lassalia, the Duma makes manifest the desires of its owner, on that occasion Argath Adolphus. When you defeated the would-be king, his ether was released from the auracite and the attunement broken, rendering the crystal empty once more. Interesting. This is not like the white auracite that we used to kill La Habrea. Or Ivalice. La Habrea was killed by Thordan. A Moogle? Never heard of them. Are you quite certain it's not a kami, or a yokai, perhaps? It took me 5 summers and 10 auditions to earn my place on the Prima Vista. That thing is in for a surprise if it believes the principal will grant it a role on our stage. A Moogle? Well, they bear no resemblance to the Moogles in our productions. Our poor customers will have to start from scratch. Not a Maggle, you say, but a Moogle? Eat, pray, dine says nothing of Moogles. Are they as delicious as Maggles? I don't know. I wouldn't presume to eat one. These Moogle creatures are utterly adorable. Do you think he'd mind if I stroked him? Probably not. Moogles are hedonists. I'd always wondered what Moogles truly looked like. Something about the costumes we used here always seemed a little odd. The rabbit-like ears, the long limbs, the wispy singlets. If I did not know better, I would think our costumier had absolutely no idea what a Moogle was. No, that sounds more like a Vieira. Moogles, you say? Pah, I play a Moogle in the Zodiac Brave story, and I can tell you, true Moogles are little like those portly vermin hovering before us. I mean, when you see a real one, I'm pretty sure it just means you guys were wrong about them. Before Sid left, he handed me this queer contraption. Said it was an elegant storage node, and that if I activated it, I'd hear the principal's voice as if he were standing right beside me. Would you care to try? Records found. Initiating query protocol. Genomus. Who exactly was the original Ramza? As I mentioned, Ramza does not appear in in the legend of Delaida's miraculous rise to power. For his part in the tale, we must look to the Durai papers. My ancestor's account states that Ramza was the youngest son of one Barbaneth Beov, the lord of a noble house of high standing. He was the same age as Delaida, whom Lord Beov took in following the death of his parents. The two boys would have grown up together side by side. Yet while the legends are strewn with references to Barbaneth's elder sons, his youngest is conspicuously absent. According to the Durai papers, this is because the Church of Glabados blinded Ramza a heretic, and had his name erased from the annals of history. My research has yet to reveal why the Church would do such a thing, and why his own blood would seemingly condone the act. For what it is worth, however, the author of the Durai papers was firmly convinced that Ramza was the true hero of the legend of Ivalice, a true Zodiac brave. Okay. What was the relationship between Ramza and Delaida? Delaida was born into a family of serfs, the Heralds, who tilled land owned by House Beov. When Delaida's parents succumbed to the Black Death, Ramza's father took the boy and his younger sister Tata into his home and raised them as he would his own children. It is at this time that I believe Delaida and Ramza became friends, growing up as equals unbound by societal constraints of blood and birth. According to legend, Lord Barbaneth was quick to recognize that young Delaida's talents extended beyond working the land, and so he used his influence to secure the orphan a place in the Garland Royal Military Academy. If the Durai papers are correct about Ramza's age, it would not be unreasonable to assume that he attended the same institution. The pair would not walk the same path for long, however. Following the untimely death of Tata, the culmination of a tragic sequence of events set in motion by none other than Ramza himself, Delaida cut ties with the house to which he had been bound since birth, and pursued his ambitions alone. Who were the Zodiac Braves? Though they are virtually synonymous with Ivalice, little is actually known of the Braves and their origins. Legend has it that Delilah, acting at the behest of the Church of Glabados, set out with a company of knights to recover the 12 lost Zodiac stones. This they duly did, earning themselves the moniker of Zodiac Braves. As you might expect, however, the Durai papers tell a different story. Oron claims it was not Delilah who led the knights, but Ramza Beolv. How this discrepancy arose is yet a mystery, but one I fully intend to solve. What is auracite? Legend paints them as holy relics created by the very gods of Ivalice themselves. Instinct and better judgment suggest they are similar to the ether-based crystals of present day, but exactly how similar is something I will require more time to establish. One thing both legend and the Durai papers agree upon is that auracite had the power to make manifest one's deepest desires, be they fair or foul. This is borne out by the fact that the stones are created both with destroying Muland, are credited with both with destroying Muland, the city of the gods, and granting Delilah the power to bring order to the chaos in his kingdom. Auracite, I conclude, is as precisely as good or evil as its wielder. Who or what are the Lucavi? Ivalician legend portrays them simply as demons, but I have a theory as to their true nature based on my own observations, and of course those of my honored forebear. The Durai papers tell us that when an auracite is used with malign intent, it warps both body and mind, transforming the wielder at last into something no longer of this world. These beings, these others, I believe, one and the same as the twisted creatures you faced in Rabanastre. Defeating said monstrosities served to restore the auracite to its original crystalline state, that of the Duma, which again is consistent with events described in my ancestors' records. Yes, the Lucavi were the main antagonists in Final Fantasy Tactics. Who was Argath Thadalphus? According to legend, Argath Thadalphus, or Algus Sadalphus, depending on which version of the tale your nursemaid told you, was once heir to a high house which had fallen into disrepute through the ignoble conduct of its then lord, Argath's grandsire. Cursing his family's diminished circumstances, the youth turned his ire upon the only souls over whom he still retained any influence, the small folk. But Delilah, hero of the common man, would not suffer this, and after trying and failing to reason with Argath, put him to the sword. The Durai papers, however, tell us more. They make mention of an heirloom passed down from generation to generation in House Thadalphus, a priceless jewel known as the Duma. Upon Argath's death at the hand of Delilah, the power of the Duma, which the young Thadalphus carried upon his person, was unlocked, and the Lucavi bound to it released. The stone duly gave form to Argath's fury, reanimating his body and granting him the strength to exact revenge upon the one who ended his life. Yet who should spare Delilah that fate but Ramza, who battled the vengeful corpse unbeknownst to his childhood friend, and finally brought peace to Argath's soul, though we know better. Now you may ask why Ramza would lend his blade to the selfsame man who forsook his ties to House Beolv. The reason lies in poor Ramza's own involvement in the murder of Delilah's sister. It was Argath who fired the bolt that struck Tetra down, but it was Ramza's earlier rescue of Argath that paved the way for the tragedy to follow. Though Argath was dead and Tetra avenged, Delilah's bitterness endured and festered, and it was not long before he began to blame Ramza. Ramza, for his part, understood all too well the turmoil in his grieving friend's heart, and therefore chose, out of respect, to maintain his distance. So the question before us remains how and why a man twice consigned to the grave could rise again to wreak chaos, and in Rabanastre of all places. Did unscattered remnants of Argath's undying rage trigger a second reaction in the Duma, calling the Lucavi once more to our realm, or was it something else, something more sinister? There's a lot to unpack here. The Wandering Dramaturge. Who is Genomus Sen Lexentale? Genomus had been at the Magitech Academy for but a handful of summers when he founded his own theater troupe, and it was but a handful more before his plays began attracting recognition in various influential literary circles. Although Genomus is not a prolific writer, what he lacks in quantity he makes up tenfold in quality. The public especially adored the few pieces he both produced and starred in, So popular were his troops' productions that admirers would have to book their seats in a year or more in advance. And though he was widely regarded as one of the finest playwrights in the Empire, none was more surprised than Genomus himself when Emperor Solus Zos Galvus, in recognition of the young principal's accomplishments, presented him with his very own airship. This has since become a source of considerable ire for the new emperor, but I think Genomus would have it no other way. You see, where his art is concerned, Genomus will not compromise. He will write and rewrite again until he has achieved what he believes to be perfection. He will create something so perfect that even his greatest detractor will be forced to acknowledge its genius. Critics applaud Genomus for his cunning, but I know it to be merely a byproduct of his inherent stubbornness. Genomus simply cannot, will not, settle for anything less than the best. What is the Majestic Theatre Company? Since its inception during Genomus's academy days, the Majestic Theatre Company has been busily producing and performing some of the Empire's most memorable works. From tragedies to comedies, classics to modern adaptations, monodrama to musicals, there was nothing the Majestic couldn't do, and do brilliantly. At the time of the Zodiac Brave Story's debut, the theater was home to over 50 performers and stagehands, all living here on the Prima Vista. Now, well, you can see where we stand. What is the Zodiac Brave Story? The Zodiac Brave Story is a tale as old as time. Whenever the kingdom was threatened, be it by tyranny, evil forces, or realm-wide disaster, 12 blessed heroes would emerge to bring light back to Ivalice. Those 12 were known as the Zodiac Braves. Each era had its own Zodiac Braves. Mullenkamp, the Star Seer, Saint Ajora, the Assassin Ashley. I can list at least 5 others, but by far the most popular has always been King Delida. Following the death of its king, Ivalice's long-standing Akasha dynasty finds itself without an heir. In an attempt to claim the throne, the Order of the Northern Sky under the banner of the White Lion and the Order of the Southern Sky under the Black Lion wage war, resulting in the death of thousands and a veritable stalemate. When all of Ivalice was at war with itself, he and 11 of his most trusted companions set out to bring order to the realm. Though not of noble birth, Delida would ultimately unite the land as regent, and the 12 became known as that era's Zodiac Braves. There has been much debate as to whether the legend is based on actual historical events or merely fiction, but most scholars agree that there is simply too little evidence to substantiate claims of Ivalice's existence. There are no ruins, there are no relics, and the stories we are left with, well, they are just that, stories. What's worse, there are so many of them, each with its own peculiarities, that only the most basic elements actually line up. Even some of the more recent renderings of the legend feature dramatic deviations, the most notable being that Delida was assassinated before even taking the throne, instead of becoming king after his marriage to Princess Ovelia Akasha. But that has always been the trouble with bards and minstrels. You can't trust a single one of them not to change the story here or there for the sake of a rhyme. And so here we are, left in the dark without a light to ponder, a mystery only the gods know. Not that I believe in gods, mind you. Yeah, you must be Garlean. How is the Majestic's telling different from the legend? Unsurprisingly, there are many plays which attempt a telling of the Zodiac Brave story, but none have been as well received as the Majestic's rendition. When Genomus told me he was considering his own retelling of the legend, I was not remotely surprised. When he subsequently revealed his intention to make it a musical, however, I nearly spat out my mead. Not content simply to write the play, he composed the music, penned the lyrics, and even saw to the damned choreography. I had never seen anything like it. With the completion of the Zodiac Brave story, he proved his genius once and for all. The musical is divided into 5 acts, the first 3 focusing on Delida's service to the Church of Glabados, his first encounter with Princess Ovelia at Kasha, and his subsequent oath to see her become queen. The final 2 acts move to the War of the Lions, culminating in Delida's betrothal to the princess and their tragic end. The ensemble scene in which Delida, lost in his web of lies, reveals the truth of his plans to the gods on one side of the stage, while on the other, Princess Ovelia swears to the self-same gods that she will put the past behind her. Genius! A masterpiece of modern theater. Okay. What happened to Dalmasca? The Dalmasca Desert is a vast wasteland situated in the southern reaches of central Othard, sharing an eastern border with Nagxia. So large is the desert that it is divided into two regions, the Ester Sands and the Wester Sands. 30 years ago, the Kingdom of Dalmasca was invaded by the Garlean Empire. When the king and his council refused to pledge fealty to the Empire, war erupted, resulting in the end of the royal Benargan line. For 1,000 years, Dalmasca had maintained its independence, only to see it crumble in a matter of moons before the might of Solisdos Galvus's metal-clad legions. Even the royal city of Rabanastre, the fabled desert sapphire, was not spared. Emboldened by the uprisings in Doma and Alamigo, resistance groups within Dalmasca have attempted coups of their own, yet all have been silenced, the Empire always seeming to know exactly when and where the insurgencies would begin. When I was a boy, I accompanied my father on one of his caravans to Rabanastre, and consider myself fortunate to have seen the royal city before its fall. The sight of its minarets, bathed in the gold of sunset, is something I will never forget. Who are you, and what is a dramaturge? Who am I? A simple question with a not-so-simple answer. I can begin by telling you who I am not, namely a member of the Majestic Theatre Company. I am a playwright like Principal Lexentale, but unlike him, I have chosen to remain independent. Genomus is an old friend, and when I heard he would be making the journey east, I asked if I could join him. You see, I too share many of the ideals that have fallen out of favor in the Imperial Court. As for who is the better writer, well, it is not for me to say. I will, however, admit to being considerably slower writer, as my publishers will all too readily attest. To make matters worse, I have also developed a passion for cookery of late, and spend a great deal of my time here assisting the galley staff in exchange for my passage on the Prima Vista. Perhaps a change of professions is in order. And do you know the Wandering Minstrel? The Minstrel? With the disheveled hair? As strange a fish as any I've seen, and I've seen plenty in my travels. Most bards simply retell the tales of high adventure, adding a twang of the lute here and a toot of the fife there for flavor. But the Wandering Minstrel is different. He seems more inclined to challenge his audience than entertain them. One might say he is a god creating worlds for his children to play in. Or not. A god would never be caught wearing those spectacles. Still, there is much a playwright like myself might learn from such a fellow. The Wandering Minstrel and the Wandering Dramaturge are two people who you can talk to unlock the extreme versions of trials that you have completed in the past, like the Ultima Weapon and Nidhogg. Oh dear, that took a considerable length of time. We're already... let's see, how far in are we? We're already more than half an hour in. Actually, almost 40 minutes. My brother can be rather simple-minded when it comes to such matters. Thinking to impress the Warrior of Light and her companions, Mont Blanc would likely choose the scene of your recent exploits to prove his worth, meaning Rabanastre, if I'm not mistaken. Pardon my language, but that Ramza is an incurable little prick, is he not? How dare he speak to his sister and the Moogle in that manner? I couldn't decide which was worse, the things he said or the way the principal sat back and let him say them. But I suppose it is none of our concern. For now, let us concentrate on the task at hand, finding that Moogle before he does something we'll all regret. What say we start nearby? Pier 2, perhaps? Oh boy, we're really going after this Moogle, aren't we? Ugh, I have to apologize for that massive lore dump. I didn't expect it to be quite that long. Alright, it's raining. Let's find that Moogle. Pier 2, right by the hostelry. Oh hey, speak of the devil, there's the Wandering Minstrel. Wearing weird goggles, and he's a samurai for some reason. But we're not going to talk to him. The Falcon Porter tells us he set a traveling blacksmith away to Yangxia not a bell past. And why would that be of interest to us, you ask? Because said peddler of iron and steel was seen to be carrying a bag stuffed to the brim with, and I quote, albino mole fur and purple bat wings. Mont Blanc! Not that we look like that, Kupo. The quickest route into Dalmasca is via the One River and its western tributaries. If Mont Blanc is bound for Rabanastre, he will seek passage from the Glittering Basin. Well, I'm sure not taking a boat. Oh, Jesus. Well, fuck it. We'll just fly. I don't give a fuck. Oh no, he's being attacked by red chocobos. Well, let's bring our chocobo out. Yeah, these motherfuckers cast Choco Meteor. And they do so quite often. You don't fuck with red chocobos. Why Mont Blanc thought it was a good idea is beyond me. It's just spam casting it. That motherfucker. Ow, that one actually hit me. Did my chocobo get fucking killed? Jesus. Mont Blanc, what were you thinking? Have you any idea what you put your brother through? He's been worried sick. Both Herdy and Ramsel were right all along. I am a failure, a flop, a flailing, flapping, foppish failure, Kupo. How could I play the part of a hero if I cannot even ruffle the feathers of a single measly bird? The audience would see right through me like the spineless jellyfish I am. It's a red chocobo. Everyone's afraid of those. Now wait, Mont Blanc. Not everyone can be a hero. Not even most heroes. Yet the bards sing of the man who deals the final blow. But what if his cadre... yes, the bards sing of the man who deals the final blow, but what of his cadre of loyal companions? Do you think Delida united Ivalice on his own? Do you think Foxy here was alone when she liberated Alamigo? You're never alone on the battlefield. Never alone? So you're saying you'll always be there for me? For Mont Blanc? Well, not always. I think she was speaking metaphorically. Let us not dwell on the details. The day is saved and Mont Blanc has escaped sans scratch or singe to show for it. We should return to the Prima Vista before our luck runs out. Well, at least the guy didn't get himself killed. Oh, Jesus Christ. Back to Kugane, then. Uh-oh. Please, this ship is a place of peace. Release my sister, or you will answer to me. When the cat's away... Put that damnable thing down, Ramza. You're not helping matters. We have no quarrel with you or yours. We only seek aid in finding our leader, Bagamnan. You seek our help? You who threatened to kill my father, who stole his work and made fools of us all? Never. Silence, Ramza. They have Alma. We will hear what they have to say. As I said, we have no quarrel with you. We only did what was necessary to secure an audience. We surrender our weapons and offer your journal as an act of good faith. This is all rather a lot to digest, but your claims do coincide with what we have learned about the auracite. You're saying that crystal did something to our captain? After being emptied of Argath's will, the Duma sought that of another to sate its appetite for ether. You're saying that crystal ate our captain? His body, no. Only his soul. His soul? Tell me, what in your opinion was your leader's deepest desire? What was it that he longed for above all else in the world? Why waste your breath reasoning with these lizards? They showed themselves for the beasts they are when they put a knife to your throat. First mole bats, now lizards? This one's tongue is pure poison! The boy can call us what he pleases. For our past failings, we deserve no better. Your failings? 30 summers have come and gone, yet not a night goes by that I do not wake and sweat at the memory. We were fusiliers in the Dalmascan army, stationed in the royal stronghold at Nalbina. Nalbina Fortress was reputed to be impenetrable. It falls to the Fourth Legion. I can't fucking read. Its fall to the Fourth Legion proved a turning point to the Imperial campaign, dealing a crushing blow to Dalmascan morale and ultimately marking the beginning of the kingdom's end. Bagamnan was our captain, and once it was clear the day would not be ours, Prince Rasler, commander of the garrison at Nalbina, tasked him with one final mission. Our unit was to escort His Highness's twin sister, Princess Ashelia, away from the fortress and thence to safety. But things did not go as planned. I still remember the words she uttered as she lay dying in the captain's arms, but a stone's throw from where Garamsythe waterway drains into the sea. Even as the fog of death descended upon her, she smiled and told us, the very people who had failed her, to survive. For as long as even a single Dalmascan stood, our nation would never truly perish. But it should not have been us who survived. By failing to protect our charge, we betrayed the princess and her memory, and brought shame upon our race. So yes, we are naught but cold-blooded lizards deserving of whatever scorn you deign to heap on us. Man. I think we may safely assume a deep-seated hatred towards the invaders of this homeland, coupled with self-loathing born from a sense of powerlessness. The darkness that lurks in the heart of Bagamnan is little different from that which drove Argath, the selfsame emotions that were to nourish the Duma. Stop speaking in riddles, Charlian. She's saying your brave captain will eventually turn into a monster, or rather more of one. Guardian lies! What they say is true. If we do not find Bagamnan and the Duma soon, none of us are safe, present company included. Do you have any idea where he might have gone? Any at all? Wait, look at this. Something has been added to the final page of my journal.
Then the captain must have put it there. Only he had access to it. Until we found it in the pack he left behind, that is.
Is this Dalmascan? Indeed it is. It says Ridorana.
The lighthouse? Why would he write that? And in the old man's journal, no less.
There is a place on the Valnard Sea, far to the south of Rabanaster, where the ocean tumbles into a gaping maw more than a mile across, the Ridorana Cataract. Legend would have us believe that it is the entrance to the Hell of Water. Many a scholar seeking to prove otherwise has descended into the chasm, some even by airship, but not a one has returned. Well, it would seem we have a heading. The Banga who took us hostage were once royal fusiliers? Whatever could have driven them into this life of villainy? I mean, I'm pretty sure you already heard the tale. What did they have left after all that? It appears yesterday's enemy is tomorrow's friend, but then where does that leave us today? All I know about Ridorana I learned during my lessons on Dalmascan geography, but no mention was made of Ivalician legend. While Principal Genoma seems convinced of a connection, I believe I shall reserve judgment until more is known. Is there aught else you would like to ask of me? Tell me of the lighthouse. There is a place on the Valnard Sea, far to the south of Rabanaster, where the ocean tumbles into a gaping maw more than a mile across, the Ridorana Cataract. Legend would have us believe that it is the entrance to the Hell of Water. Oh, this is the same... yeah. Balanced on the lip of a raging gulf sits a tiny islet atop which rises an ancient lighthouse, its origins unknown. For centuries, the tower was manned by Dalmascan candlekeeps who labored from dusk till dawn to warn sailors of the perilous drop. Since the kingdom's annexation, however, the structure has lain vacant, assuming it has not been claimed by the island's wildlife. So in other words, it's flooded with monsters. Tell me, is Ridorana truly as magnificent as they say? You've never been there? And there I was thinking you might have something to contribute. Wow, you are just the biggest dick. Ever since laying hands on the Duma, Bagamnan has acted strangely. He began speaking to the Sohn as if it were Prince Razler himself. At first my brothers and I thought it was in jest, but he continued long after he thought us all abed. It is all true. My brothers and I were fusiliers to the royal family, and Bagamnan was our captain. We only laid down our flintlocks once we realized our failure. We Banga live long. Any other race would think it a blessing, but to me and mine it is a curse. More summers mean more suffering. Wow, you guys are emo as fuck. Do I know of Ridorana? Of course I know of Ridorana. Now have I been there? No. Cannot say that I have, Kupo. Ridorana? If it were up to me, we'd never go near the place. You see, we desert Muggles are not, how would you say, in our element around water. Alright, we cannot swim. Sink like sledgehammers we do, Kupo. Aw. Well, at least you can fly. I must admit to knowing little of Ridorana, save which Lady Mikoto shared with us. Before we expend valuable time and resources traveling to so remote a place, I must review my notes and see if there is any mention of the Abyss. We shall send for you as soon as we learn aught of interest. Well, fortunately, we don't have to wait for a new patch, because the quests are right here. Ridorana is proving to be quite the enigma. With every answer comes countless new questions. This may take longer than I expected. But you are doubtless eager to know why I requested your presence. Our resident dramaturge mentioned there was something he wished to ask of you.
As my work here is far from complete, I wondered if you might not indulge the man while you wait. There's few so loath to take their rest than venturers without a quest. For shorn of work to give them worth, they soon become a source of mirth. Quoth the man idling in an airship. Touché! I shall leave you to your devices then. Oh, I basically just blew him off. Oh no. Come on, come on. Don't be like that. Yes, yes, yes. Adventure will find me in time. Oh, but it has, my friend, it has. My colleagues tell me that if one of this land ever needs an item fetched, that you are the woman to speak to. I find this philanthropic compulsion fascinating, and so, in the interest of research into my next play, let's say, I seek to put said compulsion to the test. Assuming you are game, of course. Mommy, my name is Foxy Games, of course I'm game. Bring me a bottle of wine. Ah, but not just any wine. Make it rose-themed. And make it Eorzean. I've had my fill of the bitter blends offered here in the East. Where to start? Oh, if only there were some port where thirsty Eorzeans went for their wine. You would surely be there speaking with its foremost blind Lalafell vintner, and not here with me. Wow. Well, if that isn't a hint. It has been some time since we've been in Wineport. Shamani Lomani. Yet another silly Lalafellan name, but one that we know. Soy and spice, sprinkled with a subtle succoon of the steppe. You have traveled far, my friend. What is it you seek here in Wineport? A rose-themed wine. You would be hard-pressed to find a wine that did not display some hint of rose, so we can assume that your client was not referring to a desired bouquet. Perhaps a name or a label or a bottle. Yes, I seem to recall a certain vintage rosé sold in crystal bottles with a single red rose on the label. Alas, I have nothing as rare amongst my personal stock. As for who might, well, there's also Berglint, I suppose. Oh boy. The Californian. You guys remember him, right? The wine snob? Yeah, this fucker. Ha! Only an uncultured fool would select a wine based solely on its bottle. As it happens, however, said fool would be undeservingly rewarded with one of Vilbrand's best wines were he to select a vintage Zudvanja. How the fuck do you pronounce that? Whatever. Not that your client would have the palate to properly appreciate its depth and complexity. Well, I see you haven't fucking changed. But let us dispense with the pretense. You are the fool in question, and do not bother to deny it. A fool who has aimed too high. One of your standing could live 1,000 lifetimes and still not amass the wealth required to purchase even an empty bottle. I have 1.5 million gil. I could afford this stupid wine. Oh, price is no object, is it? Ha! Even if I believed you, and I do not, I have a reputation to uphold as a vintner and viticulturalist. Were my clients to learn I was peddling the choice of my collection to the likes of you, they would never do business with me again. I am the literal savior of 4 nations. Ah, right. Just to see the back of you, I shall do you the kindness of directing your steps unto one who might take pity on your plight, assuming he does not find amusement in it. Master Gegeruju of Costa del Sol, but do not tell him I sent you. This guy is the snobbiest of snobs, the prickiest of pricks, and he is California. He is just California. What an asshole. Oh, Gegeruju. It has been some time, old friend. It has been some time. Foxy! It is always a pleasure, and I do mean that. My ladies inform me you come inquiring after a bottle of Sud Vianja, but I told them they must be mistaken. Not even you would be foolish enough to think you could... Oh, you are serious? Foxy, you do realize one could purchase an entire estate in mist for the price of a single bottle, or 5 estates for the price of 5 bottles, which happens to be the number of bottles of Sud Vianja I have in my collection. Now, I am not an unreasonable man. Let none say the venerable Gegeruju does not value a friendship as deep as the one you and I have forged. So, in my boundless generosity, I offer you the opportunity for a trade. A bottle of vintage Sud Vianja for a mere magnum of fine Dalmascan. Never heard of the stuff? And I thought I was talking to a fellow connoisseur. I pity the poor vintner back in Wineport who will have to educate you. Until then, my friend, the offer stands. Oh my god, I'm getting Company of Heroes vibes again. Is it Company of Heroes? Or who are the guys who beat Titan the first time? Ugh, either way, I'm getting vibes from A Realm Reborn. First Sud Vianja, and now Dalmascan wine? Might I interest you in an aged Leminzen Red instead? No, I thought not. Well, then you have your work cut out for you. There was a time Dalmascan wine was fairly easy to procure, even here in Vilbrand. But that was before the Empire razed the better part of the kingdom, vineyards and all. If there are any surviving bottles, it would be those that were exported before the Imperial invasion. Over 30 summers passed, though I have not encountered any in a decade or more, either at auction or in private hands. Collectors are covetous creatures. If one were to have somehow acquired a bottle, there is little chance he would willingly part with such a treasure, which leaves only those brought over by the few Dalmascan refugees who fled to Eorzea. Oh my god. Right. The old man in the jungle. The one who was going a little crazy. I didn't realize he was Dalmascan. I'm beginning to remember why I didn't particularly like this quest. Like, this entire quest line. Hi, Dressed. The midges still bothering you? Can't sleep. They won't let me. The midges won't let me. They buzz and they scream. Again. You. I know you. You were here before. You sent away the midges. They came back, though. They always come back. They mock me, tell me I could never go home. I just want to go home. I cannot stand it here anymore. Oh, I fucking... There. Wine. My wife loved wine. We would drink a glass of Valens every night before sunset. She would always keep the cork. I always thought that odd. What good is a cork? Toss it in the midden heap along with the bottle, I'd say, but she... empty wine bottle. Though you find several empty wine bottles among the rubbish, one in particular calls out to you. Take it to Shamani Lamani to confirm its origin. Well, I'm not sure what good an empty bottle is going to do us, but we'll see. How is Dressed? I hope your visit did not disquiet the poor soul. Yet by some stroke of fortune, the cork remains intact. So you have brought me an empty bottle. Ah, but what is this? The cork remains in place. That is most fortunate. If an adequate seal was made, there may still be traces of the wine within. May I? Flamboyant yet elegant. A thought-provoking blend of kokoro beans and cinnamon with just a hint of... Is that rosemary? A veritable kaleidoscope of both opulence and refinement. Long has it been since I last encountered a bouquet of such complexity, yet I recall it as if it were yesterday. Without question, this bottle once held a Dalmascan Leomond red by the name of Valens. To think I would have the opportunity to experience it again after so many summers. But I suspect Master Gigaruju will not be as satisfied with a sniff as I. Now, one without scruples might see the empty bottle as the basis for a ruse. One man's ruse is another man's keikaku. What the fuck, Hancock? Over the years, I have had numerous dealings with the Lord of Costa del Sol, and while he is many things, an expert on wines is not one of them. Not that it would matter if he were. Men of his standing invariably find more joy in boasting of their acquisitions than in consuming them. In all likelihood, Master Gigaruja will never even open the bottle, rendering the provenance of its contents practically irrelevant. Ah, but where are my manners? These forays back to western climes always bring out the barbarian in me. It is a pleasure, Foxy. Lest you wonder at my presence here, my employers see promise in the Hingan wine trade, and desire the establishment of a viable route twixt east and west. I am come to see their plan to fruition. Before returning to your dilemma, I believe that I may be of assistance. I just so happen to have on my person several sample bottles of Hingan wine made with grapes similar to those once found in Dalmasca. For a close acquaintance, I would be more than willing to part with one that she might fill her empty vessel. But that would be unjust. As a maker of wine, I cannot allow it. Master Gigaruju has cozened more of his clients than he can count. How do you think the man amassed his fortune? By playing fair? Would that the world were thus, but I am here to tell you it is not. So, it is decided then, we shall employ deceit as our morally justified means to a happy end. Wait, this is a fool's errand. Then let us be glad our quarry is a fool himself. You know, I kind of agree with Hancock. Now, if you will excuse me, I must go and tell the gentle citizens of Wineport why they should be drinking Hingan. Good day. I forgot about this part. I saw nothing. Nothing at all. Well, of course you didn't. You're blind. Oh, dear. Alright, let's see if we can pull the wool over old Gigaruju's eyes. By the gods, you actually found one? A bottle of Dalmascan wine? Oh, we must uncork it right away. Oh, dear. Lemon Valens. Or at least it appears that way. Yes. A lush bouquet of herbaceous dignification coupled with earthen undertones and so forth. You see, he's not even a connoisseur. He's just a hipster. In short, the very epitome of a Dalmascan red. Yes, you have outdone yourself this time, Foxy. And a promise is a promise. Ladies, the bottles of Sudvianja, if you please. Fancy.
Take whichever you fancy, except the one with the rose. That is my favorite. Or whichever you fancy. Well, that's the one. Oh, we can't even talk to him after. Oh well, not that we particularly want to. Gigaruju, you live your little life of luxury. I've got actual world saving to do. Oh my god. Well, that took way too long. They say a rose is a rose is a rose. So tell me, adventurer, is that a rose in your pocket, or are you simply here for small talk? Wow, lewd. A vintage wine so rare and so expensive you can't help but stop and wonder why you don't just drink it yourself and give the wandering dramaturge a bottle of Lenosian Red. We would deserve it, wouldn't we? Literal savior of nations. A bottle of vintage Sudvianja. You never cease to amaze. But what is most amazing is your impeccable sense of timing. Today marks the 12th anniversary of the day I met my dear wife, and if there was one thing she loved more than wine, it was roses. Would that you were here today to... But I jest. My wife is very much alive, in fact. What a dick. She's been here with us all along. Darling, would you care to join us? For me? How thoughtful. But did you... Forget the most important gift of all? Of course not. I don't get it. Oh, he's cooking. That's right, he did say he was cooking for the ship. Bacon bread, the perfect companion to a perfect wine, for my perfect companion. Oh, darling, I think this might be our best anniversary yet. Well, that was pointless. That played out better than I imagined. I suppose I have you to thank, adventurer. Though it was the bacon bread that sealed the... Ah, yes. Is that Principal Genomus I hear calling? Perhaps he's made some progress with his research and requires your assistance. You had best not keep him waiting. This was like the video game equivalent of anime filler. Jesus. I hope these past few turns of the sun have proved as productive for you as they have for us. They really haven't. We have much to share. I'm in a Realm Reborn all over again. Ridorana is the name of both a massive gap in the southern Valnard Sea and a lighthouse once manned by the Royal Damascan Navy to prevent ships from succumbing to the cataract's currents. I stress once manned, as the tower has lain empty since its candle keeps abandoned their posts after the fall of Rabanastre. But if Pharos Sirius offers any indication of what can befall a lighthouse in absence of its caretakers... Yes, but the real question is how all of this ties in with Ivalician legend. A cursory examination of the Zodiac Brave story reveals no mention of a Ridorana. Yet it seemed foolish to assume that a name could not change in the centuries since the tale was writ. So I thought to cross-reference texts on modern Ilsabardian history with our translations of the Durai papers. And after an exhaustive re-examination of my ancestors' notes, I discovered that there was not a single entry on Ridorana. And while mention of the Valnard Sea was abundant, I found no reference whatsoever to any cataract or lighthouse within its waters.
Ramza's discovery prompted me to examine the mystery from a different perspective. What if there was no mystery at all? What if at the time of Delita's rise, the chasm did not yet exist? There is more, but only a visit to the lighthouse will enable us to confirm our theories with any certainty. Well, alright. It is as Ramza said, only by visiting the lighthouse will we be able to confirm our theories. All that I know about Ritorana... Okay, yeah, we heard your shit already. The Ritorana lighthouse lies far from civilization. You would be wise to provision for the trip here in Hingashi. An adventurer always comes prepared, or an adventurer usually comes prepared and I shall return soon. But we're prepared. Of course. Well, the chasm certainly exists. And that's the strangest lighthouse I've ever seen. Beautiful scenery, though. Something is very wrong here. Mayhap it is best if we split our fellowship into two parties, one to delve into the tower's depth and one to observe from afar. As acting expedition sub-leader, I appoint you captain of the first. You may use this spyglass to aid in your search for the missing lizard. Damn it, brother. Where are you? The lighthouse looks like it has seen better days. I dare say we have a handful of Imperial dreadnoughts and 30 years of disrepair to thank for that. Yeah, look at that giant gear. This place is fucked. Shivering? Me? My fur is simply standing on end from all the ambient ether. Yes, ambient ether in the area. Can't you feel it, Kupo? It's okay to be scared, Mont Blanc. Everybody knows you're no hero. Where in the king's name are you hiding, Captain? Don't worry, Captain. This honor with us. They won't hurt you. This location appears to offer an adequate view. Climb up and scan the area for any sign of Begamnon. Okay. This is a little silly, isn't it? Is that him? No. That's not him. There he is. You found him? Let me see. He needs our help. Prince Razzler, Princess Ashelia, I know you cannot forgive me. Nor should you. It is all my fault. I could not save you. Could not save anyone. Anyone but myself. I am so sorry. Bagamnan, wait! Traitors! Have you no pride? You treat with the very men who laid waste to our homeland. You are mistaken, brother. There are no Imperials here. We've come to help. I know what I see. My own kin sided with the enemy. How dare you stay my audience with the princess? The Duma.
It has him, Kupo. It's showing him what he wants to see.
Witch! Murderess! Uh-oh.
Gunfire.
Bagamnan! So this is the end. Recite the words, satisfy the covenant, relinquish thy soul unto me, and be granted that which thou desirest most in all the world. Sword in hand, a warrior clutches stone to breast. Look at me, brother, look at me! In sword, etched he, his fading memories. Don't you die, not yet! In stone, his tempered skill. We promised we'd all go together when our time came. You can't leave us here. By sword attested, by stone revealed.
That light. Where have I seen it before? Oh no. Whatever you are doing, you need to leave the lighthouse right away. Right away, do you hear? No argument there. We are not ready for that. We need some friends.
Oh boy. Don't you tell me he's gone. He's not. He's stronger than that. He's the strongest Banga you'll ever meet. He'll tear his way out of that Lucavi and crush it underfoot.
I was fully prepared to fend off the abomination when he vanished, Kupo. I dare say he took one look into my eyes and lost the will to fight.
Yeah, sure. Keep telling yourself that.
There could be no doubt now. In the wrong hands, the auracite is a danger to us all. Something must be done, and quickly. Had Bagamnon not stolen the Duma, he would still be alive today, and we would not be faced with confronting another Lucavi. The lizard only has himself to blame.
Well, as true as that may be.
The captain's dead. I saw the light leave his eyes. And now we're alone.
I cannot, will not believe that there is nothing left of Bagamnon in that creature. We can still save him. We can.
According to Father, the Durai papers speak of the auracite as a holy stone, but I see nothing holy in what it did to Argath and Bagamnon. A most interesting twist. I had assumed the auracite would act more swiftly upon the weak-willed, but mayhap I was mistaken. Could it be that the opposite is true? That those possessed of a strong will are more susceptible to its influence, if not less? There are so many questions. But we are not entirely without answers.
Yeah, we don't need to ask about more.
I think my brother has had more than enough fun for one day, Kupo. Perhaps it's time for a sleep spell. Alright, make it sleep 3.
Oof. It is as we feared then. Bagamnon's soul is lost. So it would seem. Much as I wish it were otherwise, I fear Bagamnon is beyond saving. We cannot suffer what is left of him to become a distraction. Or, you know, a threat.
Father, is now not the time to abandon this quest? We are meddling with forces beyond...
Enough, Alma. We adults are talking. While Foxy was searching for the lizard, I inspected an area of exposed foundation at the base of the lighthouse. And you were right, Father. The lighthouse is built squarely atop the ruins of what can only be the clockwork city of Gog.
The what-work city of who? According to the Zodiac Brave story, the clockwork city of Gog was a metallic metropolis wherein airships, automata, and other technological marvels of the age were first conceived. Little is said about its location, however, save that it was far away.
While the Durai papers do not say a great deal more, they do mention that the land upon which the legendary city was built was severely limited, an inconvenience that forced its inhabitants to build up rather than out. Which led me to ask myself, what if the reason land was limited was because the land in question was an island? But that still would not explain the omission of the cataract. It is inconceivable that the authors would neglect to mention so prominent a landmark had it existed. And then I found it, a lone passage regarding Gog's fall. While the particulars were missing, it appears the city was abandoned after an explosion left half of it in ruin. I believe that this explosion may have undermined a portion of the seabed. It need only have been a small area at first, one that could well have gone unnoticed during the Exodus. As time passed, however, the waters would have continued to wear away at the rock, slowly widening the gap until we have what lies beneath us today. This would explain why there's no mention of Vidarana prior to the present era.
Come, Father, will you not tell them the rest?
Of the possibility that we Garleans are descended in part from the displaced citizens of Gog. It would explain how the Empire was able to forge its armies of iron even before the discovery and application of Allegan technology. And it may also explain why the legend of Ivalice has resonated with our people for centuries, despite the fact that the Lost Kingdom was, as far as we can tell, in quite a different corner of the world. An interesting, if somewhat ambitious theory,
But to return to your original claim, it is your belief that the Ridorana Lighthouse stands atop what is left of...
That necklace. Where did you get it, girl?
This? It was my mother's.
Your mother's?
It was my late wife's most cherished possession. Why do you ask?
Agamemnon had a talisman he would wear beneath his jerkin. He refused to take it off even when bathing. He said it was special. I only saw it a few times, but it looked exactly like the one your daughter wears.
And? What are you implying, lizard? That my sister stole it? Or my late mother?
Neither. I spoke of their similarity, that is all.
Can you believe the nerve of this boy?
Enough, Ramza. Our guests are merely concerned for the well-being of their kin.
But what of our kin?
What of them, Ramza? Do you imagine our kin to be better than theirs in some way? Or anyone else's, for that matter?
I apologize, Father.
We have but one purpose, son, and that is to prove the existence of Ivalice and clear our family's name. Do not allow anger or hate to lead you from that path. Now, we have a lost city to explore. The Ridorana Lighthouse is now accessible. And we will jump right into that dungeon in the next episode. Yes, this one has dragged on entirely too long. I know, there was a lot of exposition dump, and there was filler, so we are out of time. But in the next one, we'll get straight off to the Ridorana Lighthouse. I'm sorry about the cliffhanger. Until next time, everyone, my name is Foxy Games, and I'll see you then. Bye.